Hello learner, welcome to my video lecture on computer networks and security with the subject code 18CS52. In this video we will be discussing about authentication using hash function, and one of the hash function algorithm we discuss here is secure hash algorithm version 1, and we also discuss authentication using digital signature, and at last we discuss the fundamentals of firewall, packet filtering and proxy server. Authentication. In computing, authentication is the process of verifying the identity of a person or a device. A common example is entering a username and password when you log into a website. Entering the correct login information lets the website know two things. The first one is who you are, and the second one is that it is actually you accessing the website. Authentication techniques are used to verify identity. Message authentication verifies the authenticity of both message content and the message sender. Message content is authenticated through implementation of hash function and encryption of the resulting message digest. The sender's authenticity can be implemented by the use of digital signature. So here, for authentication of message content and message sender, we use hash function, and for authenticating the sender, we use the technique called as digital signature in network security. What is cryptographic hash function? A hash function or a cryptographic hash function is a mathematical function that converts a numerical input value into another compressed numerical value. The input to the hash function is an arbitrary length of message, and output is always of fixed length of hash value. The value returned by hash function are called as message digest or simply hash values. As depicted in the diagram, we can see here the input for the hash function is a arbitrary length of message m, and we perform the hash function, and the output will be a hash value, or it is also called as message digest, and the length of this hash value or message digest is fixed. So this function or hash function is utilized to authenticating the sender and to verify the integrity of the message. A common technique for authenticating a message is to implement a hash function, which is used to produce the fingerprint of a message. That means the output of the hash function, we can say that it is the fingerprint of the message which is used for authenticating the message sent by the sender. The hash value is added at the end of the message before transmission. The receiver recomputes the hash value from the received message and it compares it to the received hash value. If the two hash values are the same, the message was not altered during the transmission. Once a hash function is applied on a message called as m, the result is known as message digest, that is h of m. And these hash functions has some of the properties. The first property is authentication algorithm is not required to be reversible. As we have seen during the encryption and decryption, normally encryption algorithm, if you reverse, that will be the decryption algorithm. But here decryption is not used. That is why the hash function no need to be a reversible function. The second one is called as it is computationally infeasible to find a message from the hash value or message digest by using any algorithm. If you have a hash value, it is not possible to find the message. The third property is it is computationally infeasible to find two different messages, say M1 and M2, such that the hash values of those messages are equal. we have two methods for message authentication. We'll see what are those two methods. These are the two methods of message authentication which is used for authenticating the message. In the first, the difference between these two is, in the first case we use encryption and decryption of hash value, and in second case we don't use encryption and decryption of process. So here we consider user 1 and user 2. User 1 wants to send a message to the user 2, and before he transmits the message, he calculates the sender will calculate the hash value by using a hash function as a message as the input. And before transferring the message digest or the hash value and the message, the hash value will be encrypted by using a key, and that will be added along with the message. So this message and the encrypted hash value will be transmitted towards the destination. Once receiver or user 2 receives message as well as encrypted hash value, the encrypted hash value will be decrypted by using the same key whatever sender has used. That is, here symmetric encryption and decryption happens, and the user 2 will also calculate a hash value locally with the help of received message. If the two values, that is received hash value and calculated hash values, are equal, then message is authenticated. In the second case, again user 1 will calculate the hash value by using the hash function, and here there is no encryption of hash value. So directly the message as well as hash value will be transmitted towards the destination. The receiver will use the received message and it will calculate the hash value, and it will compare with the received hash value. If both are equal, then message is authenticated. So this is how a message is authenticated with the help of hash function. Some of the most popular message authentication protocols are MD5 and SHA, where MD5 stands for Message Digest version 5, and Secure Hash algorithms. And Secure Hash algorithm has various versions based upon the length of message digest as well as the length of the message. And here we discuss one of the Secure Hash algorithm, that is first version of SHA algorithm. SHA algorithm is a digital signature standard, and here I discuss SHA-1, which is the first version of the Secure Hash algorithm. The SHA-1 algorithm takes message with maximum length of 2 to the power 24 message length, and it produces a fixed size of 160-bit message digest. As we have seen during the discussion of hash function, the hash function will take any arbitrary length of message and it gives a fixed value of message digest. In case of SHA-1, it takes 2 to the power 24 of different length of message, and it produces 160 bit of fixed size message digest. And here, to implement the SHA-1 algorithm, it uses 5 registers from R1 to R5 to store the state of 20 bytes, that is 160 bit. So each register stores 32 bit of message digest. So totally we get 160 bit of message digest. The first step is to pad a message M with length LM. The message length is forced to LM is equal to 448 mod 512. In other words, the length of the padded message becomes 64 bits lesser than the multiple of 512 bits. The number of padding bits can be as low as 1 bit and as high as 512 bits. The padding includes a bit, 1 bit, and as many as 0 bits as required. Therefore, the least significant 64 bits of the message length are appended to convert the padded message to a word with a multiple of 512 bits. For example, if we have a message with length 350 bits, in order to make it as 448 bit, we append 38 bits or we pad 98 bits. So this 98 bit will be, the starting bit will be 1 and followed by 97 zeros. 97 zeros. The remaining 64 bit is nothing but the entire length of the message, whatever we have here 350, is represented by using 64 bit. So total it becomes 512 bit. 512 bits. So we can say that a 512 bit block contains the actual message plus padding plus 64 bit to represent the length of the message. The next step, that is step 2, is to expand each block of 512 bit, that is group of 16 32 bit value into 80 of 32 bits. So how do we expand this 16 group to 80 group of 32 bits? So initially if we consider 16 group as M0 to M15, so we just copy same into 16 different words. So that means Wi is equal to Mi, where I value goes from 0 to 15. For the remaining word, we use this particular formula. So where Wi is equal to Wi minus 3 XOR Wi minus 8 XOR Wi minus 14 XOR Wi minus 16, where Y goes from 16 to 79. So total it becomes 80 words. For example, if at all we want to calculate the word 16th word, then it will be XOR between W13, W8, W2 and W0. So here we get 80 different words from W0 to W79. So this is the word array where we have 80 words starting from W1 to W0 to W79. So once we have these shifted words or mixed words, then bits from each block of Wi are mixed into the state in 4 steps, each maintaining 20 rounds. For any value of ABC and bit number I, we define the function f of I of ABC as different 4 rounds using this formula. So this particular formula will be using for 0 to 19, and this formula will be used for 20 to 19, sorry, 20 to 39. So this should be 39, total 20 rounds, and this will be used for from 40 to 59, and the last one will be used to 60 to 79. Then the 80 steps starting from I is equal to 0 to 79, the 4 rounds are described as follows, where rho is equal to the value of R1 shifted towards left 5 times plus the output of the function plus content of R5 and the word, ith word and the ith constant value, that is Ci, where Ci is a constant value specified by the standard for around I. So this will be calculated for 80 different steps. So once we have the row value, then the row value will be copied to R1, R1 will be copied to R2, R2 will be copied to R3 after shifting left side 30 times, and R3 will be copied to R4 and R4 will be copied to R5. So once we finish with the 79th or 80th steps, the content of R1, R2, R3, R4, R5 will be the required 160-bit message digest with respect to SHA-1 algorithm. So each register will store 32 bit of word, total 160 bit of message digest will be received after completing 80th step. So this particular function gets the value from word array, gets the value from current value of content of different register and a constant value Ci, and it will be stored to the registers. We have different versions of SHA algorithm. The first version is SHA-1, whatever we have discussed, where message length will be lesser than 2 to the power 64 and block size is 512 bit, whatever we have seen, and word size is 32 bit, and the size of the message digest or the hash value is 160 bit. With respect to SHA-256, the message length can be lesser than 2 to the power 64 bit and block size remains same 512 and even word size remains same, but it produces 256 bit message digest. The third version is SHA-384 where we increase the message length to 2 to the power 128 and the block size is also increased to 1024 bits and the word size is increased to 64 bit and the message digest length is 384 bit. And with respect to SHA-512, that is fourth version, again the message length can be up to 2 to the power 128 bit and block size remains same as third version, that is 1024, and even word size is also 64, but the message digest length is 512 bits. So these are the different versions and their block size, word size and the message digest size in terms of bits. The next topic is digital signature. A digital signature is a mathematical technique used to validate the authenticity and integrity of a message, software or a digital document. A digital signature is one of the most important required security measures. Much like a person's signature on a document, a digital signature on a message is required for the authentication and identification of the right sender. The digital signature is supposed to be unique to an individual and serves as a mean of identifying the sender. An electronic signature is not as easy as it was with the proper base system. The digital signature requires a great deal of study, research and skill. Even if these requirements are met, there is no guarantee that all the security requirements have been met. So usually digital signature intended to solve the problem of tampering and impersonation in the digital communication. So overall we can say that a digital signature usually verifies the actual sender and the integrity of the message or a software or digital document. The given diagram provides you the how exactly digital signature is created and how exactly the verification is done at the receiver side. At the sender side, the data is fed into the hashing function to produce the hash value, and this hash value along with the signer's private key will be fed into the digital signature in order to create the digital signature for the data. So remember here, in order to create the digital signature of the signer, the private key is used because this key should be secret for the signer or the sender. Once the digital signature algorithm creates the signature for the given hash value and the private key, the signature along with the data will be transmitted towards the destination. So once the data and signature is received by the receiver, the data will be again fed into the hashing function at the receiver side, and the signature is then verified along with the verification algorithm by using sign as public key at this receiver side. So after verification, the hash value whatever we receive and the hash value after performing the hashing function, if they are equal, then we can say that the sender is verified and authenticated. So this is how digital signature helps to validate the sender of the message. The next topic is firewall. As the name itself suggests, a firewall protects the data from the outside world. A firewall can be a software program or a hardware device. A firewall is a popular security mechanism for networks. It is a simple router implemented with a special program. This unit is placed between host of a certain network and the outside world as shown in the diagram and the rest of the network. The security issues faced by the smaller network like the one used at home are similar to larger networks. A firewall is used to protect the network from the unwanted websites and potential hackers. A firewall is placed on the link between a network router and the internet or between a user and a router. The objective of such a configuration is to monitor and filter packets coming from unknown sources. Consequently, hackers do not have access to penetrate through a system if a firewall protects the system. For a large company with many small networks, the firewall is placed on every connection attached to the internet. Companies can set rules about how their networks or particular system need to work in order to maintain security. Companies can also set rules on how a system can connect to the websites. These precautionary rules are followed in order to attain the advantage of having a firewall. Hence, the firewall can control how a network works with an internet connection. A firewall can also be used to control data traffic. Software firewall programs can be installed in home computers by using an internet connection with the so-called gateways. The computers with such a software can access web servers only through this software firewall. But hardware firewalls are more secure than software firewalls. Moreover, hardware firewalls are not expensive. Some firewalls also offer virus protection. The biggest security advantage of installing a firewall in a business network is to protect from any outside logging in onto the network under protection. Firewalls are preferred for use in almost all network security infrastructures as they allow the implementation of a security policy in one centralized place rather than end to end. Sometimes a firewall is put where a large amount of data flow is normally expected. A firewall controls the flow of traffic by one of the following three methods. They are packet filtering based on source IP address and which also prevents DOS attack. Apart from the forwarding packets between networks, a firewall filters those packets that pass through. If packets can get through the filter, they reach their destinations. Otherwise, they are discarded. A firewall can be programmed to throw away certain packets addressed to a particular IP host or TCP port number. This condition is especially useful if a particular host does not want to respond to any access from an external sources. The second method is that a firewall filters packets based on source IP address. This filtering is helpful when a host has to be protected from any unwanted external packets. The third is to protect the network from the DOS attack, where unwanted ping floods or UDP floods will be prevented with respect to firewall. The last two topics of this particular module is packet filtering and proxy server. Packet filtering is a network security mechanism that works by controlling what data can flow to and from a network. In order to prevent network attacks to a particular network, we can use this packet filtering mechanism so that we can able to control the data flow in and out of the network. Usually this packet filtering happens in the firewall. And the next is proxy server. A proxy server is a computer system or a router that functions as a relay between client and server. It helps prevent an attacker from invading a private network and is one of the several tools used to build a firewall. So all these firewall, packet filtering and proxy server works together in order to prevent network attacks for a particular network. The word proxy means to act on behalf of another, and a proxy server acts on behalf of the user. So as the diagram shows, a proxy server will act in between the internet and the client in the network. So all the packets which are flowing from client and internet will be going through the proxy server. With this, I wind up the discussion on network security. We have seen what are the different types of attacks, what is the need for network security, and we have discussed different types of cryptographic systems, and we also discussed authentication of sender and message by using hash functions and a digital signature. We also discussed about the firewall, packet filtering and proxy server, which act as the one of the mechanism for preventing a network attack for a particular networks. So with this, I finish the fourth module. So we'll meet in the next video.